Another example is Paul Collier, an Oxford economist who delves into three divides that capitalism has exacerbated in his book, The Future of Capitalism. While I don't necessarily agree with him on many points, he's definitely right in that the world does see increasing gaps in three main areas: a rural-urban split, a gap between more and less educated, and a gap between wealthy and emerging nations. To close these rifts, he calls on business to support a stronger social safety net. He says capitalism needs to be managed, not defeated, in his recent book, The Future of Capitalism. But is it business's ethical responsibility to fix these issues, or would we be better served by a system of, say, checks and balances in which there's another party with equal power that tries to bridge the divide? If so, then what should that party be? And how do we keep the increasingly powerful groups in this system from using their power to harm the increasingly less powerful as these divides widen? Okay, so I've used the term fiduciary and fiduciary responsibility a few times. Let's talk a little bit about what that means. So a fiduciary is someone who holds a legal or ethical relationship of trust with one or more parties. These parties may be another person or a group of persons. Often a fiduciary responsibility involves prudently managing money or other assets for another party. A fiduciary relationship involves a vulnerable party justifiably vesting confidence and trust in the fiduciary by seeking the fiduciary's assistance, advice, or protection. Ethically, a fiduciary responsibility requires the fiduciary to always act in the best interest and for the sole benefit of the party who has placed trust in them. Basically, somebody trusts you and you have to live up to that trust. A fiduciary duty must not involve a conflict of interest with another fiduciary duty. For example, the fiduciary represents more than one client in a transaction, then the interests of those clients are in conflict, and he can't represent each of them to the best of his ability or her ability. So as we've discussed before, management owes a fiduciary responsibility to act in the best interest of and for the sole benefit of the owners of a business, such as the shareholders of a corporation. However, people are increasingly looking to business to also honor their social responsibilities to other stakeholders, such as the community that provides services, the rule of law and infrastructure that benefits businesses and its shareholders, the employees who provide their time, effort, and labor to benefit the business, the customers who purchase the business's goods and services, and then finally, other members of the channel of distribution or supply chain, such as wholesalers and suppliers who provide raw materials and other inputs for the business. In discharging their social responsibility, corporations by definition must pursue mixed motives. They must do well financially while doing good. However, many have found that doing good in society actually enables them to do well financially. Now let's talk a little bit about compliance versus integrity-based organizations. First, let's look at some characteristics of corporations. Corporations must, of course, adhere to law and policy. Friedman said they have to play within the rules of the game. Corporations are often regulated externally, and corporations have no conscience, but they can develop a guiding organizational culture. So what is culture? Culture is consistent, observable patterns of behavior, as well as how people think and what they believe. Culture provides a shared view of meaning and what the norms are for appropriate behavior. This exists in any social system or organization, including a country or an organization such as a corporation. Sometimes organizations have cultures that are purely compliance-based, which means they're focused on obeying the law, external regulations, and internal policies. Thus, many corporations are creatures of law and policy and are regulated externally. However, other organizational cultures are not just compliance-based, but integrity-based, which means they're focused on standing up for what they believe in or for the values that the organization represents. Of course, most corporations have cultures that are both compliance and integrity-based. Achieving integrity-based as well as compliance-based organizational culture requires shaping the internal culture, self-regulatory environment, and responsiveness to community stakeholders. Such shaping requires the acts of individuals within the organization who engage in ethical decision-making, ethical leadership, and corporate governance in order to guide the organization toward corporate responsibility. Thus, in developing and guiding organizational culture, personal ethics do interact with business ethics. Ethical leaders can shape the values of organizational cultures to create integrity-based organizations.